Imagine earning $400 million and still ending up completely broke. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what happened to Mike Tyson. At the height of his fame, he wasn't just rich, he was living like money could never run out. Mansions bigger than hotels, exotic tigers walking through his house, luxury cars sitting in garages he barely visited, and even a bathtub worth more than most people's homes. From the outside, it looked like the ultimate dream. But behind the scenes, every paycheck created a lifestyle that demanded even bigger paychecks. And the scary part is this doesn't only happen to celebrities. Ordinary people do the same thing on a smaller scale every single day. The moment income rises, spending rises faster. A bigger salary becomes a bigger car payment, a bigger mortgage, more pressure, more stress. And before they realize it, they are trapped. If you're enjoying this video so far, subscribe right now, because what you're about to hear could completely change the way you look at money forever. The truth is, wealth is not about how much you make. It's about how much you keep and how long you can keep it. Tyson's story is not really about boxing. It's about human psychology. When people suddenly gain money, they often believe the party will never end. Athletes think their bodies will last forever. Influencers think fame will never fade. Entrepreneurs think business will only go up. But life has a way of humbling people who confuse income with wealth. One financial advisor once said something powerful. The fastest way to go broke is trying to look rich. And that's exactly what destroys so many lives. People spend money to impress strangers who honestly do not care. They chase status instead of security. They buy applause instead of freedom. Your attention here, because this next point matters. The people who stay wealthy are usually the people you would never suspect. They don't need to prove anything. They understand that real wealth is invisible. The money you don't spend is the money that protects your future. So before you buy something expensive just to impress people online, ask yourself one question. Is this purchase buying me freedom or stealing it from me? Because one decision repeated for years can either build your future or slowly destroy it. If this message hit you hard, comment freedom over flexing below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing money the wrong way, and subscribe because the next lesson might save you years of financial regret. Two people can work equally hard for 40 years and end up in completely different financial situations. One earns six figures but retires stressed, drowning in debt, still worrying about bills. The other earns a modest salary, never becomes famous, never drives flashy cars, yet quietly retires wealthy and free. How does that happen? Because income alone does not create wealth. Behavior does. Most people think the path to becoming rich is earning more money, but the truth is many people destroy themselves trying to look successful instead of becoming financially secure. Every raise becomes an excuse to upgrade their lifestyle. Bigger house, newer car, expensive vacations, designer clothes, monthly payments stacked on monthly payments until their entire life depends on the next paycheck arriving on time. And the craziest part? From the outside, they look successful, but privately, they are trapped. One emergency away from panic. One lost job away from collapse. If you're getting value from this, subscribe right now, because this mindset shift alone can completely change your financial future. I once heard about a school teacher who never earned more than an average salary. Her coworkers assumed she struggled financially because she drove an old car and brought homemade lunches every day. But what nobody saw was that she invested consistently for decades. Small amounts, quietly, patiently. While others were spending to impress people, she was buying assets, time, and peace of mind. By the time she retired, she had more financial freedom than many executives who earned 3 times her salary. That's the part society never teaches. Wealth is often silent. Debt is usually loud. Your attention here, because this could save you years of frustration. The world wants you to believe rich people always look rich. But many truly wealthy people look ordinary because they understand something powerful. Every dollar spent trying to impress others is a dollar that can no longer build your future. Real financial success is not about appearances. It's about control. Control over your time, your decisions, your stress, your future. The people who retire wealthy are not always the smartest or highest paid. They're often the most disciplined. They master delayed gratification while everyone else chases instant validation. So stop measuring success by what people show online. Most people are showing purchases, not ownership. If this changed the way you think about money, comment silent wealth below. Like this video, share it with someone who confuses income with wealth, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely change how you see success forever. What if I told you that some of the most successful people in the world were only one small moment away from living completely ordinary lives? We love hearing stories about hard work because they make success feel controllable. Work harder, wake up earlier, grind longer, and eventually you'll make it. But life is not that simple. Luck and timing play a bigger role in success than most people are willing to admit. And understanding that truth can completely change the way you look at money, ambition, and even failure itself. Think about Bill Gates for a second. Yes, he was brilliant. Yes, he worked insanely hard. But he also went to one of the only schools in America that had access to a computer during the 1960s. At a time when most people had never even seen one, he was already learning how to use it. That single opportunity gave him a head start millions of people never had. Now imagine if he had been born in a different city, into a different family, or 10 years earlier. His life may have looked completely different. And here's the scary part. Most people never think about the invisible advantages behind success stories. If you're enjoying this perspective, subscribe right now, because the next few minutes may completely change how you judge both yourself and other people. There's also another side to this conversation nobody likes talking about: risk. Sometimes failure is not caused by laziness or stupidity. Sometimes people simply get crushed by circumstances they never saw coming. A talented business owner can lose everything during a recession. A hardworking investor can get wiped out in a market crash. A person can do almost everything right and still fail because timing turned against them. Your attention here because this next idea is powerful. Understanding the role of luck should not make you lazy. It should make you humble. Too many successful people start believing they are invincible. They think every win came purely from skill, so they become arrogant, reckless, and blind to risk. At the same time, struggling people often blame themselves for things partly outside their control. The truth sits somewhere in the middle. Success is usually a mix of preparation, skill, opportunity, and timing colliding at the right moment. That's why smart people focus less on trying to control everything and more on putting themselves in positions where good opportunities can find them. You cannot control luck, but you can increase your chances of benefiting from it. Learn skills, build relationships, stay patient, stay prepared, because sometimes one conversation, one decision, or one unexpected opportunity can completely change your life forever. If this opened your eyes, comment "timing matters" below. Like this video, share it with someone putting too much pressure on themselves, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform the way you think about success and money. Two teenagers once sat together dreaming about changing the future of technology. They were best friends, obsessed with computers, ambitious beyond their years, convinced they would build something legendary together. One of them was Bill Gates. The other was a boy named Ken Evans, someone most people have never heard of. And that alone tells you everything about how unpredictable life really is. Before they could even graduate high school, Kent died in a tragic mountaineering accident. Just like that, his story ended before it even had a chance to begin. Meanwhile, Bill Gates went on to build Microsoft and become one of the richest men in history. Now think about that for a second. Two intelligent young men, two huge dreams, two promising futures. But one random moment changed everything forever. That story forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth most people ignore. Success is not always a clean equation of talent plus hard work. Sometimes life changes because of timing, circumstances, and opportunities nobody can predict. If this perspective already has you thinking differently, subscribe right now, because the next insights may completely change the way you view ambition and success. Bill Gates himself has openly acknowledged how lucky he was. He was born into the right era, had access to rare technology, supportive parents, and opportunities most people never received. That does not take away from his brilliance. It simply reminds us that behind every giant success story are invisible advantages people rarely talk about. And this matters because society loves simplifying success into motivational slogans. People hear stories about billionaires and think, if I copy their routine, I'll get the same result. Wake up at 5 a.m., read the same books, hustle nonstop. But they forget the invisible variables that shape those lives. The right place, the right time, the right connection. Your attention here, because this next point could save you years of frustration. Understanding luck should not discourage you. It should actually make you smarter and more compassionate. Smarter because you stop assuming every successful person has all the answers. Compassionate because you stop judging struggling people as failures without understanding their circumstances. Some people start the race miles ahead. Others face obstacles nobody sees. The goal is not to become bitter about life's unfairness. The goal is to recognize reality while still giving your best effort. Because while you cannot control every opportunity life gives you, you can control how prepared you are when opportunity finally appears. So stop obsessing over copying someone else's path. Build your own. Stay patient. Keep learning. Keep showing up. Because one unexpected moment can completely redirect your future. If this story changed the way you think about success, comment, "Opportunity changes everything" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing success the wrong way. And subscribe because the next lesson may completely reshape your understanding of money, luck, and life itself. Most people grow up believing one simple idea. If you work hard enough, success is guaranteed. Study hard, stay disciplined, outwork everyone around you, and eventually life will reward you. It sounds motivating. It sounds fair. But reality is far more complicated than that. The truth nobody wants to admit is that hard work alone does not guarantee wealth, success, or security. There are people working 14-hour shifts every single day who still struggle to pay rent, while others become millionaires from one lucky opportunity, one investment, or one connection. And understanding this truth is not negative. It is freeing. Because once you stop believing the world is perfectly fair, you start making smarter decisions instead of blindly exhausting yourself. Think about two people starting businesses at the exact same time. One launches right before a booming market and becomes wildly successful. The other launches during a recession and fails despite having a better product. Same effort, different timing. Or think about talented musicians. Thousands of incredible artists never become famous, while a few catch one viral moment that changes their entire lives forever. Hard work matters, but timing, exposure, relationships, and luck matter too. If this perspective already feels different from what you usually hear online, subscribe right now, because these lessons can completely change how you approach money and life. The dangerous part about the hard work guarantee success mindset is that it creates two unhealthy extremes. Successful people start believing they earned every single thing entirely on their own, which leads to arrogance. Meanwhile, struggling people blame themselves for everything, even when circumstances played a major role. A hardworking person can still get hit with medical bills, layoffs, family emergencies, economic crashes, or opportunities they never had access to in the first place. Your attention here because this next point is important. Real winners understand that life is partly skill and partly uncertainty. That's why smart people do not just work harder. They position themselves better. They learn valuable skills, build networks, save money, avoid unnecessary risks, and stay adaptable because they know the future is unpredictable. The goal is not perfection. The goal is resilience. And sometimes resilience matters more than raw talent. The people who survive setbacks long enough often end up outperforming people who looked more gifted in the beginning. So yes, work hard, but do not worship hard work as if it controls everything. Strategy matters. Timing matters. Opportunity matters. Humility matters. Because success is rarely built from effort alone. It is built from preparation meeting opportunity at the right moment. If this changed the way you think about success, comment "hard work isn't enough" below. Like this video, share it with someone putting too much pressure on themselves, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform the way you view money, risk, and achievement forever. One of the biggest mistakes people make in life is believing they can copy someone else's success like a recipe. We look at billionaires, athletes, celebrities, and entrepreneurs and think, if I just do exactly what they did, I'll get the same results. So people start waking up at 5 a.m., reading the same books, copying the same routines, investing in the same trends, and trying to recreate someone else's life step by step. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You are only seeing the visible part of their story. You are not seeing the timing, the luck, the hidden opportunities, the connections, or the circumstances that played a massive role behind the scenes. And that's why blindly copying successful people can quietly ruin your own future. Think about social media entrepreneurs for a second. Someone starts an online business during the early days of a booming platform and becomes wildly successful. Millions of people then rush in trying to copy the exact strategy years later when the market is overcrowded. Same actions, completely different results. Why? Because success is often built around context, not just behavior. If this is already changing how you think about success, subscribe right now, because what comes next could save you years of frustration and wasted effort. There's a dangerous side effect to hero worship. People start copying the personality of successful individuals instead of understanding the principles behind their success. They see a billionaire taking huge risks and think reckless behavior is the secret. What they ignore is survivorship bias. For every person who became rich taking extreme risks, thousands failed and disappeared quietly. But you never hear their stories because failure is invisible. Your attention here because this next idea is powerful. The goal is not to imitate someone's exact path. The goal is to understand timeless principles and apply them to your own situation. Discipline matters. Patience matters. Saving matters. Long-term thinking matters. But the exact strategy someone used may not work in your life, in your economy, or in your generation. Even Warren Buffett has said that if he were born in another country or another era, his opportunities would have looked completely different. That's why smart people stop obsessing over copying lifestyles and start focusing on understanding reality. Build skills that fit your strengths. Make decisions based on your circumstances, not someone else's highlight reel. Because trying to become a copy of another person often distracts you from building the life you were actually meant to create. If this message hit home, comment "build your own path" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing someone else's version of success, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely change the way you think about money, risk, and achievement forever. At one point, Jesse Livermore was one of the richest traders on earth. Newspapers called him a financial genius. People studied his every move, copied his strategies, and treated him like a man who had cracked the secret code of money itself. He made fortunes predicting market crashes while others lost everything. Imagine the confidence that kind of success creates. The world starts telling you that you're different, smarter, untouchable. But then something terrifying happened. He lost it all. Not once, but multiple times. He would build massive fortunes, watch them collapse, rebuild again, and then fall even harder. Eventually, the pressure, losses, and emotional exhaustion consumed him completely. His story reveals a truth most people never understand about money. The line between genius and destruction is often dangerously thin. And sometimes the exact traits that create success can also create ruin. If this perspective already has you thinking differently, subscribe right now, because these lessons could save you from mistakes that destroy countless lives quietly. Jesse Livermore was brilliant at taking risks. That boldness made him rich. But over time, success convinced him he could not lose. He became overconfident. He kept pushing harder, betting bigger, trusting his instincts too much. And that's where many successful people collapse. They mistake survival for invincibility. They assume because risky behavior worked before, it will always work. But markets change. Life changes. Luck changes. Your attention here, because this next point is critical. The world celebrates people when they win big, but almost nobody talks about emotional sustainability. People think wealth is only about intelligence or strategy, but psychology often matters more. Can you stay calm during losses? Can you avoid greed when success arrives? Can you walk away before your ego destroys you? Many cannot. That's why so many athletes, investors, entrepreneurs, and celebrities rise quickly and then disappear just as fast. They become addicted to risk itself, and eventually the same fire that built their empire burns it down. Livermore's life teaches us that making money is not enough. Keeping it requires humility, patience, and emotional control. The smartest financial move is not always making the biggest gain. Sometimes it's surviving long enough to keep playing the game. Because true wealth is not built in one lucky moment. It's built slowly through consistency and self-control over decades. If this lesson opened your eyes, comment "Survive the game" below. Like this video, share it with someone obsessed with chasing fast success, and subscribe because the next insight may completely transform the way you think about risk, wealth, and human behavior forever. Most people see success and immediately assume one thing: skill. They look at billionaires, famous athletes, successful investors, and entrepreneurs and think they made it because they were smarter, harder working, or more talented than everyone else. Then when they see someone fail, they assume the opposite: lazy, stupid, careless. But life is rarely that simple. Success is never 100% skill, and failure is never 100% stupidity. Behind every outcome are invisible forces people rarely talk about: timing, luck, risk, opportunity, environment, and circumstances nobody can fully control. And once you understand this, you stop looking at the world in such a shallow way. Think about two people investing their savings. One starts during a booming economy and watches their money grow effortlessly. The other starts right before a financial crash and loses confidence immediately. Same intelligence, same discipline, completely different outcomes because of timing alone. Or think about entrepreneurs. One person launches a business when demand explodes and becomes a millionaire. Another launches the exact same idea years later when the market is saturated and struggles to survive. Yet society treats one like a genius and the other like a failure. If this perspective already feels eye-opening, subscribe right now, because these lessons could completely change how you think about money, ambition, and even your own life. The dangerous thing about ignoring luck is that it creates arrogance in successful people and shame in struggling people. Someone who succeeds starts believing every win came purely from personal brilliance. They become overconfident, reckless, and blind to risk. Meanwhile, someone going through hard times starts believing they are worthless, even when many factors were outside their control. Your attention here, because this next point matters deeply. Understanding that luck exists does not mean effort is pointless. It means humility becomes essential. Smart people prepare for uncertainty because they know life can change fast. One recession, one accident, one opportunity, or one relationship can completely redirect a person's future. That's why wise people stop judging others so quickly. They understand that every human being is playing a game with different starting points, different obstacles, and different opportunities. The goal is not to become bitter about unfairness. The goal is to stay prepared long enough for opportunity to eventually meet effort. Because while luck may open doors, only preparation allows people to walk through them. So work hard, absolutely, but never assume outcomes are controlled entirely by effort alone. Life is more unpredictable than most people realize. If this message changed your perspective, comment "luck and skill" below. Like this video, share it with someone being too hard on themselves, and subscribe because the next lesson may completely reshape the way you think about success, money, and human behavior forever. Most people think getting rich is the hardest part, but history shows something shocking. Making money is often easier than keeping it. Every year, athletes sign million-dollar contracts and end up bankrupt. Celebrities earn fortunes and lose everything. Entrepreneurs build massive companies only to watch their empires collapse a few years later. Why? Because getting wealthy and staying wealthy require completely different mindsets. One requires taking risks. The other requires respecting risk. And most people never learn the difference until it's too late. Think about someone starting from nothing. To become successful, they often have to be aggressive. They work crazy hours, take bold chances, invest heavily, bet on themselves when nobody else believes in them. That mindset can create enormous wealth. But the problem begins when success arrives and they keep playing the same dangerous game forever. They become addicted to growth, excitement, and winning. They think because risk helped them get rich, even more risk will make them unstoppable. That's when the collapse usually begins. If this message already feels different from typical money advice, subscribe right now because the next few minutes may completely change how you think about wealth and long-term success. Look at countless lottery winners. Overnight, they go from ordinary lives to massive wealth. But within a few years, many are broke again. Not because they lacked money, but because they lacked the psychology required to protect it. They spend recklessly, trust the wrong people, make emotional decisions, and assume the money will last forever. The exact same pattern happens with entrepreneurs, influencers, investors, and even professional athletes. Your attention here because this next point is powerful. Staying wealthy is not about constantly winning bigger. It's about surviving long enough for compounding to work in your favor. Warren Buffett became one of the richest men in history, not because he chased the craziest opportunities, but because he avoided catastrophic mistakes. He understood something most people ignore. Avoiding big losses matters more than chasing endless gains. A person who makes 50% returns but eventually loses everything is not successful. A person who grows steadily for decades without collapsing often wins the game. Real wealth is built through patience, restraint, and emotional control. Sometimes the smartest financial decision is simply refusing to risk what you already have for something you do not truly need. Because freedom comes not from one giant win, but from staying financially secure long enough to enjoy life without fear. If this changed the way you think about money, comment "Protect the Wealth" below, like this video, share it with someone chasing fast success, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you view risk, freedom, and financial security forever. We usually celebrate people the moment they become rich, famous, or successful. The viral success story, the championship win, the startup that suddenly hits billions, the athlete signing a massive contract. But what we rarely see is what happens after the spotlight fades. Because for many people, the hardest part of wealth is not earning it, it's surviving it. Every year, we see the same pattern repeat itself. Celebrities who once had everything end up bankrupt. Athletes who earn more in a few years than most people earn in a lifetime lose it all. Entrepreneurs build empires and then watch them collapse under pressure, mismanagement, or reckless decisions. It's not a coincidence. It's a pattern rooted in psychology. If this is already making you rethink how money really works, subscribe right now because what you're about to hear might protect your future from the same mistakes. The truth is, making money often comes with momentum, excitement, and adrenaline. You take risks, you push limits, you chase growth. But when money suddenly arrives in large amounts, your psychology doesn't automatically upgrade with it. Your habits, your emotions, your impulses stay the same. So people who were never trained to manage wealth suddenly find themselves responsible for more money than they ever imagined. And that mismatch is where things break. Think about athletes for a second. A player might grow up with very little, suddenly sign a massive contract, and overnight feel like they need to experience everything they were missing. Luxury cars, expensive houses, constant spending, pressure to maintain a lifestyle that keeps growing. But careers end quickly. Injuries happen. Contracts expire. And when the income stops, the lifestyle doesn't. That's when reality hits hard. Your attention here, because this next idea is critical. The problem is not just bad spending. It's identity. Many people never separate who they are from how much they earn. So when money increases, they feel they must look successful. And when money decreases, they feel like failures. That emotional connection leads to destructive decisions. Smart wealth builders understand something very different. Money is not identity. It is a tool. And tools must be managed, not worshipped. That's why many of the richest people in the world often live far more simply than expected. They prioritize durability over appearance, stability over excitement, longevity over short-term status. Because they understand a powerful truth. It's not about how fast you get rich, it's about how long you can stay rich without self-destructing. If this changed your perspective, comment "Stay in the game" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing fast money, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely change how you think about wealth, discipline, and long-term success forever. Most people think financial failure comes from bad investments or unlucky market crashes. But in reality, one of the biggest killers of wealth is something far more dangerous: greed. Not the obvious kind of greed, but the slow, quiet kind that convinces people they can never lose. It starts after success. A business takes off. An investment pays off. Money starts flowing in. And instead of feeling cautious, people feel invincible. They believe the success will continue forever. That belief is where everything starts to break. Because once someone stops respecting risk, risk eventually reminds them who is in control. If this is already changing how you see money and success, subscribe right now, because what you're about to hear might protect you from one of the most common financial downfalls in history. Think about how many people go from disciplined to reckless the moment they taste success. An entrepreneur makes their first million and suddenly starts taking bigger and bigger risks. An investor doubles their money and assumes they've mastered the system. A business owner expands too fast, borrows too much, and assumes growth will never slow down. But markets don't care about confidence. Life doesn't care about optimism. And risk does not disappear just because someone is winning. Your attention here, because this next point is where most fortunes collapse. The danger is not in taking risks early in the journey. It is in continuing the same behavior after success arrives. When people are poor or starting out, they are careful because they have nothing to lose. But once they accumulate wealth, that caution slowly disappears. They start increasing leverage, making emotional decisions, trusting assumptions instead of facts. And slowly, without noticing, they transition from building wealth to gambling with it. One of the most extreme examples of this is Sam Bankman-Fried and the collapse of FTX. At one point, he was worth billions, a symbol of success in the crypto world. But behind the scenes, excessive risk, poor controls, and overconfidence created a fragile system that eventually collapsed completely. It wasn't one mistake. It was a mindset that stopped respecting downside risk. Compare that to investors like Warren Buffett, who famously focuses more on avoiding losses than chasing extreme gains. His philosophy is simple: don't lose money, and over time, you'll win by survival alone. Because wealth is not built by one big win. It is protected by avoiding catastrophic loss. If this message made you think differently, comment "Respect the risk" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing aggressive returns, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely change how you think about money, success, and long-term survival and wealth. Some of the most shocking financial stories in history don't come from people who failed slowly. They come from people who rose to the very top and then collapsed almost overnight. And the strange part is, many of them didn't fail because they stopped making money. They failed because they didn't know when to stop taking risks. One of the most extreme modern examples is the story of Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. At one point, he was worth tens of billions of dollars. He was seen as a genius of the crypto world, someone who built a financial empire faster than almost anyone in history. From the outside, it looked like unstoppable success. But behind the scenes, the system was fragile, over-leveraged, and built on increasing risk. And when confidence replaced caution, the entire structure eventually collapsed. If you're finding value in these lessons, subscribe right now, because understanding these patterns can completely change how you approach money and risk in your own life. The key mistake was not ambition. It was the belief that success could outrun risk forever. That is one of the most dangerous illusions in finance. When people start winning, they often assume their decisions are always correct. They begin to trust momentum more than logic. They think because things worked before, they will continue working no matter what. But markets don't reward confidence. They punish carelessness. Your attention here, because this is where most people miss the real lesson. Wealth is not destroyed in one moment. It is usually built on a series of small decisions that slowly increase exposure to risk. More leverage, less caution, bigger bets, less oversight, and eventually, one unexpected shift in conditions exposes everything. This is why so many fortunes disappear quickly after rapid growth. It's not bad luck. It's fragile systems built during overconfidence. Now compare that with someone like Warren Buffett. While others chase maximum returns, he focuses obsessively on avoiding permanent loss. His philosophy is not about winning every opportunity. It is about making sure he can never be wiped out. Because once you are out of the game, you cannot recover. That's the difference most people don't understand. Getting rich is about taking smart risks. Staying rich is about surviving bad risks. The people who last the longest are not always the most aggressive. They're the most disciplined when success arrives. Because wealth is not just about how much you make. It is about how much you keep when things go wrong. If this changed the way you think about money, comment "never overconfident" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing fast success, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely reshape your understanding of wealth, risk, and long-term financial survival. What if the secret to becoming extremely wealthy wasn't about finding the next big opportunity, but simply surviving long enough for time to do the work for you? That sounds almost too simple, but that is exactly the philosophy behind one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett. While most people chase excitement, hype, and rapid growth, Buffett built his fortune through patience, discipline, and something most people underestimate completely: survival. Because in investing and in life, it's not the people who make the most money in one moment who win. It's the people who stay in the game long enough for compounding to take effect. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this single shift in thinking can completely change how you handle money forever. Buffett didn't become wealthy by making massive, risky bets every year. In fact, he often avoids opportunities that feel too uncertain. Why? Because he understands something most people ignore. One big mistake can erase decades of progress. It doesn't matter how many times you win if you eventually lose everything. That's the hidden danger in aggressive wealth building. Your attention here, because this is where most people misunderstand success. The goal is not to maximize returns at all costs. The goal is to avoid destruction. Buffett famously prioritizes avoiding losses over chasing extreme gains. That mindset seems boring to many people, but over decades, boring becomes powerful. While others rise and fall, he continues to grow steadily, protected by caution and consistency. Think about it like a long race. Some runners sprint early, look impressive, and burn out halfway. Others maintain a steady pace, avoid injuries, and quietly pass everyone in the long run. Wealth works the same way. Many people underestimate how powerful time is when it is combined with discipline. Small, consistent decisions repeated over decades often outperform high-risk strategies that rely on perfect timing. And the most important part is this: Buffett's strategy is not about intelligence alone. It is about emotional control, the ability to not get greedy when others are winning, the ability to not panic when others are failing, the ability to stay consistent when nothing exciting is happening. That is what most people struggle with. Because patience feels slow, discipline feels boring. But those two things quietly build fortunes while everyone else is distracted by noise. If this changed the way you think about money and success, comment "Time builds wealth" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing shortcuts, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you see money, risk, and long-term success forever. What would you do if you suddenly woke up with millions of dollars in your bank account tomorrow? Most people imagine freedom, luxury, and endless happiness. But history shows something very different. For many people, sudden wealth becomes the beginning of their downfall, not the beginning of their freedom. Lottery winners are one of the clearest examples of this. People who go from ordinary lives to extreme wealth almost overnight often lose it all within a few years. Not because they didn't have enough money, but because they never learned how to manage it. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this is one of the most important financial truths most people never hear until it's too late. The problem is not money itself. The problem is the psychology that comes with sudden change. When someone who has lived paycheck to paycheck suddenly becomes wealthy, their entire emotional relationship with money shifts. They feel pressure to enjoy it, spend it, show it, and share it. They start upgrading everything at once. Cars, houses, lifestyle, friends, expectations. And slowly, the money starts disappearing faster than it came in. Your attention here, because this is where the real mistake happens. Wealth without experience is extremely fragile. Most lottery winners, athletes, and sudden entrepreneurs never develop the habits required to protect large sums of money. They never learned budgeting at scale. They never learned how to say no. They never learned how to resist lifestyle inflation. So instead of wealth giving them freedom, it traps them in a new cycle of stress and bad decisions. Think about it. If someone has never managed $1,000 responsibly, how are they expected to manage $1 million? Yet that is exactly what happens when success arrives too fast. And the result is often predictable. Overspending, poor investments, trusting the wrong people, and emotional decision-making. Over time, the money drains away, and they end up in a worse position than before because now they also carry regret and expectation from others. The deeper lesson is this: wealth is not just about money, it is about behavior. And behavior takes time to build. That's why many people who grow their wealth slowly often end up more financially secure than those who get rich quickly, because they grow into their money instead of being overwhelmed by it. If this changed the way you think about money, comment "slow wealth wins" below, like this video, share it with someone chasing quick success, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely change how you see financial freedom, discipline, and long-term success forever. Most people think saving money is boring. It feels like sacrifice, like saying no to life today so you can maybe enjoy life later. No new phone, no fancy car, no expensive vacations. Just setting money aside while everyone else seems to be enjoying themselves. That's how most people see it. But that mindset completely misses the real purpose of saving. Saving money is not about delaying enjoyment. It's about creating freedom. And freedom is something most people don't value until they lose it. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this one shift in thinking can completely change your financial future. Imagine two people with the same income. One has savings. The other lives paycheck to paycheck. Now imagine both of them face the same problem: job loss, emergency, or sudden crisis. The first person has options. They can pause, think, and choose their next move. The second person has panic. They are forced into decisions they don't want to make just to survive. That is the real difference savings creates. Not wealth, not luxury, options. Your attention here, because this is where everything changes. Most people think money is about buying things. But the highest value of money is not consumption, it is control. Control over your time, your choices, your stress levels, and your future direction. There is a powerful concept often called the Freedom Fund or FU Fund. It simply means having enough savings so you are never trapped in a situation you hate. A toxic job, a bad environment, a stressful relationship. When you have savings, you're no longer stuck. You're free to walk away. Think about how different life becomes when you can say no without fear. Most people cannot do that because they're financially locked in. They stay in situations that drain them simply because they have no backup plan. And that is where saving becomes powerful. Not because it makes you rich instantly, but because it removes pressure from your life. Even a few months of savings can completely change how you think and behave. You stop making desperate decisions. You stop fearing uncertainty. You You start thinking clearly again. The truth is, people don't fail financially because they don't earn enough. They fail because they don't have breathing room. Saving gives you that space. And that space is what allows better decisions to happen. If this changed your perspective, comment Freedom Fund below. Like this video, share it with someone stuck in financial stress, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you see money, freedom, and control over your life forever. In 2014, a man died quietly in a small apartment. No headlines during his life. No fame. No luxury lifestyle. No social media presence showing wealth or success. To most people who knew him, he was just an ordinary janitor named Ronald Read. He worked at a gas station. He cleaned floors. He lived a simple, almost invisible life. The kind of life most people assume means financial struggle. But after his death, something shocking was discovered. Ronald Read had secretly accumulated around $8 million. And that revelation completely stunned everyone who thought they knew him. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this story might completely change how you define wealth forever. The first reaction people had was disbelief. How does a janitor end up with millions? There are no signs of luxury, no flashy cars, no expensive clothes, no visible indicators of wealth at all. But that's exactly the point. While others were trying to look successful, Ronald was quietly becoming financially secure. He lived below his means, saved consistently, and invested patiently over decades. No shortcuts, no hype, no attention, just discipline over a long period of time. Your attention here, because this is where the real lesson begins. Most people misunderstand wealth because they associate it with appearance. They assume rich people must look rich. But real wealth is often invisible. It is not what you see, it is what you don't see. It is the money not spent, the cars not bought, the status not chased, the impulse not acted on. Ronald Read's lifestyle was so simple that nobody suspected his financial reality. But behind the scenes, his money was quietly growing through long-term investments. While others were spending to signal success, he was building security. And that difference is everything. Because wealth is not about income alone. It is about behavior over time. Small decisions repeated for decades create outcomes that look almost impossible from the outside. The most powerful part of this story is not the number in his bank account. It is the mindset behind it. He didn't need to impress anyone. He didn't chase validation through possessions. He focused on patience, consistency, and long-term thinking. And that is why his wealth was hidden from the world until the very end. If this changed the way you think about money, comment invisible wealth below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing status, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you understand success, money, and what it really means to be rich. Most people think getting rich is about showing success. The car you drive, the house you live in, the clothes you wear, the places you travel to. Society teaches us that wealth is something visible, something you can display for others to recognize. But that is one of the biggest illusions about money, because real wealth is often completely invisible. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this one idea alone can change how you spend and save money for the rest of your life. Think about two people earning the same income. One spends everything to look successful. The other quietly builds savings and investments without showing anyone. On the surface, the first person looks wealthy. New phone, new car, nice lifestyle. But behind the scenes, they might be stressed, living paycheck to paycheck, one emergency away from financial collapse. Meanwhile, the second person looks ordinary, maybe even average, but they have security, stability, and options most people cannot see. Your attention here, because this is where everything flips. Wealth is not what you show. Wealth is what you keep. It is the money you don't spend. It is the investments growing silently in the background. It is the ability to survive uncertainty without panic. A person driving a luxury car might look rich, but if that car is financed and their income stops tomorrow, everything collapses. On the other hand, someone living a modest life with strong savings and investments has true financial power, even if nobody notices. This is why comparing appearances can be dangerous. Social media makes this worse. People only post highlights, never liabilities. You see vacations, not debt. You see luxury, not stress. You see spending, not sacrifice. So it becomes easy to believe that looking rich is the same as being rich. But they're completely different games. One is about perception. The other is about reality. Real wealth gives you something far more valuable than status: freedom. The freedom to make choices without fear. The freedom to walk away from toxic situations. The freedom to handle emergencies without panic. And that kind of wealth cannot always be seen from the outside. It is built quietly, over time, through discipline and restraint. So the next time you feel pressure to spend just to look successful, remember this. Every dollar spent on appearance is a dollar removed from your future security. If this changed your perspective, comment "Real wealth is invisible" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing status, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you think about money, success, and freedom forever. What does it actually mean to be rich? Most people answer that question instantly. Money, luxury, cars, houses, expensive vacations, designer brands. That's the image society constantly sells. But the reality is much deeper and far more uncomfortable. Because looking rich and being rich are two completely different things, and confusing the two has ruined more financial lives than almost anything else. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because this shift in thinking can completely change how you handle money for the rest of your life. Looking rich is easy. It's the surface level game. You can finance a car, rent a house, wear expensive clothes, and project an image of success within weeks. Social media makes it even easier. A few photos, a few posts, and suddenly the world assumes you've made it. But none of that reveals what's actually happening behind the scenes. Your attention here, because this is where most people get trapped. Being rich is not about what people assume about you. It's about what you actually own after everything is paid off. It's the difference between income and wealth, between appearances and reality. Someone might look successful driving a luxury car, but if that car comes with debt and monthly stress, they're not rich. They're just spending to maintain an image. Meanwhile, someone else might live quietly, drive an old car, wear simple clothes, and never post anything online, yet have strong savings, investments, and financial freedom. From the outside, they look average, but financially, they're secure. That's the part most people miss. Society rewards visibility, not reality. People get praised for spending, not saving, for showing, not building. So over time, many individuals fall into a dangerous cycle. They upgrade their lifestyle every time their income increases. Higher salary becomes higher expenses. Higher income becomes higher pressure. And instead of gaining freedom, they stay stuck in the same financial stress, just at a more expensive level. True wealth, however, is measured in control. Control over your time. Control over your decisions. Control over your stress. Control over your future. It is not about impressing others. It is about not needing to impress anyone at all. The richest people in the world often don't look the way people expect because they prioritize stability over appearance. They understand a simple truth. The goal is not to look successful for a moment, but to stay secure for a lifetime. If this changed the way you think about money, comment "No more appearances" below. Like this video, share it with someone chasing the wrong version of success, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you understand wealth, freedom, and real success forever. Most people think money problems come from not earning enough. But in reality, one of the biggest reasons people struggle financially is not income. It's emotion. Money is not just numbers in a bank account. It is deeply tied to how we feel, how we react, and how we make decisions under pressure. And when emotions take control, even smart people will make poor financial choices. If you're finding value in this, subscribe right now, because understanding this one idea can save you from years of financial mistakes. Think about it. People don't usually buy things because they logically need them. They buy them because of how it makes them feel in that moment. A new phone feels exciting. A new car feels like success. Expensive clothes feel like status. And in those moments, emotion is louder than logic. Your attention here, because this is where most financial failures begin. Investing is another powerful example. In theory, it is simple. Buy low, hold long-term, stay patient. But in reality, when markets drop and portfolios fall, fear takes over. People panic. They sell at the worst possible time, locking in losses that could have recovered. Not because they are bad investors, but because they are emotional humans. The same happens during success. When people start making money, they become overconfident. They assume good times will last forever. So they take bigger risks, spend more, invest more aggressively, and slowly increase their exposure to danger without realizing it. Emotion shows up in both directions: fear during loss, greed during gain. And both can destroy wealth if not controlled. That's why the most successful investors and financially stable people in the world don't rely only on intelligence. They rely on systems that protect them from themselves. Automatic investing, fixed budgets, long-term plans, anything that reduces emotional decision-making. Because they understand a powerful truth. Being rational is easy in theory, but being emotional is human nature in reality. And the goal is not to eliminate emotions. The goal is to not let emotions control financial decisions. A calm decision made with patience often beats a fast decision made under pressure. That is why so many people fail, not because they lack knowledge, but because they lack emotional discipline. If this changed the way you think about money, comment "Control emotions, control money" below. Like this video, share it with someone who struggles with spending or investing decisions, and subscribe because the next lesson might completely transform how you think about wealth, behavior, and financial success forever. What if I told you the difference between people who build wealth and people who constantly struggle is not intelligence, not opportunity, and not even income, but how they think when emotions are involved? Most people assume money decisions are logical. Add up the numbers, follow the best strategy, and success should follow. But in real life, financial decisions are made under stress, excitement, fear, and greed. And that changes everything. If you followed this series so far, subscribe right now, because this final lesson ties everything together and can completely change how you handle money forever. When markets rise, people feel invincible. They start believing they have discovered a winning formula. They increase risk, invest more aggressively, and assume success will continue without interruption. When markets fall, the same people panic. They sell at the worst time, abandon their plan, and make decisions based on fear instead of logic. Rehook your attention here, because this is where most people unknowingly destroy their financial future. The truth is, rational thinking sounds perfect on paper, but breaks down in real life. A perfectly optimized investment strategy means nothing if you cannot emotionally survive it. That's why two people with the same financial plan can end up in completely different outcomes. One stays calm during downturns and keeps investing. The other panics and exits too early. Over time, that difference compounds into massive gaps in wealth. Smart investors understand this. That's why they don't just focus on returns, they focus on behavior. They design systems that protect them from emotional mistakes. Automatic investments, long-term strategies, simple portfolios, and clear rules are not signs of weakness. They are safeguards against human psychology. Because the biggest risk in investing is not the market, it is yourself. Even the best financial plan is useless if you abandon it the moment it becomes uncomfortable. That's why patience, consistency, and emotional control matter more than constantly searching for the perfect strategy. Real wealth is built by people who can stay the course when everyone else is panicking or getting greedy. People who understand that discomfort is temporary, but mistakes made in emotional moments can last for years. So the ultimate lesson is simple but powerful. It is not about being the smartest person in the room. It is about being the most consistent when emotions are high. If this final lesson changed the way you think about money and behavior, comment "I control my decisions" below. Like this video, share it with someone trying to improve their financial life, and subscribe because everything you've learned here can completely transform how you think about wealth, success, and long-term freedom.